back to One Hit Wonderland, where we take a look at the careers of bands and artists known for only one song. And today, we are going to look at one of the biggest hits of all time! Yes, you heard me, one of the all-time biggest chart-smashing mega hits ever. Yes, today, we are looking at... Yeah, I guess it's not that impressive when you start actually playing it. But yes, one of the biggest hits of all time. In fact, Billboard listed as the 9th biggest hit in the entire history of the Hot 100, and the single biggest hit of the entire 1970s. Yeah, not Staying Alive, not Dancing Queen, or I Will Survive. Nope, You Light Up My Freaking Life. Yeah, see, adult alternative effectively killed the easy listening format by the end of the 90s, but for a good solid 3 decades, it was an incredibly successful, chart-dominating format, especially in the 70s when your Barbra Streisands and your Barry Manilow's and your Olivia Newton-Johns were the thundering gods of the music world. So you might be thinking it was all cocaine, disco orgies, Afro-tastic funk, and groupie banging classic rock. But what the people really wanted was sappy love ballads from Stepford Wives young women like Karen Carpenter, Toni Tennille, and the woman you see before you, the divine Miss Debbie Boone. Boone looked into the song of a lifetime in 1977, and to the world at large, she is basically known for that one single hit. But did you know that she has quite a long career of recorded output? Did you want to know? Well, too damn bad. We're going to take a look at the one stunning hit of the most soft-tacular, milquetoast, bland, good housekeeping balladeer of all time, and then we're just going to keep digging further. Look, I just needed to wash the taste of Miley out of my brain, alright? So, Debbie Boone, You Light Up My Life. Light up. You light up my life. Let's go. Back in the 1950s, there was this guy. His name is Pat Boone. Nowadays, people only really remember him for covering a bunch of metal songs a decade ago and getting himself in trouble. But my dad tells me that for many decades, he was the most loathable man in America. He's been kind of written out of the history books, but he was there at the dawn of rock and roll. He was a contemporary of Roy Orbison and Buddy Holly and the Everly Brothers. He was one of the original teen idols, and in terms of chart success, he rivaled the King himself. In fact, he and Elvis had a lot in common. They were both instrumental in bringing black music to white America. The difference between him and Elvis was, Pat Boone did it by making it suck. In other words, for decades, Pat Boone would have been the whitest kid you know. And unusually for a teen idol, he also got married super young and started popping out kids immediately, including his third child, Debbie, who he had in 1956 when he was just 22. Now, on her mother's side, Debbie is also the granddaughter of Red Foley, a country music legend from the 40s and 50s. And, as a weird kind of parallel, Pat Boone and Red Foley both eventually turned to making gospel records. It should also be noted that, if you didn't know already, Pat Boone is extremely religious and has been a major figure in the Christian subculture for a long, long time, so that's the environment Debbie grew up in. I read she actually went through a rebellious phase in high school, which I can only imagine what that was like. Maybe she didn't finish her P's once. But she outgrew that by the time she reached adulthood and instead decided she wanted to continue the family tradition of crap. The Boone Girls formed in the mid-70s making gospel albums. They weren't particularly successful, but I've heard some sources say that they basically started the entire contemporary Christian genre we know and love today, so thank them for that. But anyway, their manager apparently pegged Debbie as the breakout star of the group, so when one day he caught some terrible movie with a promising sounding song on the soundtrack, he got Debbie to sing it solo. The result? You Light Up My Life comes from the movie of the same name, which stars Frenchie from Grease as a struggling up-and-coming singer. The song was written by an ad jingle writer, Joseph Brooks, who was also the screenwriter and director of the movie. By all accounts, the movie is awful, and Netflix outright refused to send me a copy, but there are clips available online. Let's see what it's like.
What's the name of the song?
You light up my life.
You light up my life. Two, and...
So many nights.
Right. Yeah, no. Nice lip-syncing, Lena Lamont. Yeah, why wouldn't someone with that speaking voice sound like that when she sings? Here, let me try and match that masterpiece of dubbing.
Wouldn't it be fantastic if the world was more like your dreams?
Yeah, some dreams wouldn't.
But anyway, let's take a look at the song itself, which won an Oscar that year.
So many nights I'd sit by my window.
You Light Up My Life is basically the model for the big soundtrack ballad that got big in the 90s. I Will Always Love You, My Heart Will Go On, Everything I Do It For You. They're all basically attempts to do what You Light Up My Life did in 1977.
And you light up my life.
Now, with that said, You Light Up My Life has not exactly aged well. In fact, it's really quite terrible. We as a culture have collectively accepted that it is one of the worst songs of all time, and with good reason. It's an incredibly white bread and lifeless little tune. And considering that it was, again, the 9th biggest hit of all time, I can only imagine what a crushing avalanche of soft rock garbage it felt like at the time. I mean, holy Christ. No, literally, holy Christ. As the world later learned, Debbie Boone based her interpretation of the song around her love of Jesus. Yes, there is one man in Debbie's life, and that man has some ripped abs and a killer beard. Is there anything wrong with that? No, my lord.
You light up my day.
But is this song actually about Jesus? Probably not, at least not originally, but you know, it certainly can be. The joke is that most Christian songs are just regular pop songs with the word Jesus added in, but You Light Up My Life actually fits pretty well into the genre. For one, You Light Up My Life is an incredibly chaste, even unromantic love song.
Finally, a chance to say, hey, I love you.
Hey, I love you.
Rolling at sea.
No, I mean, you could sing this song to your kid, or your mom, or your houseplant even, and there wouldn't be anything creepy or wrong about it.
Could it be finally I'm turning for home?
It's just that unadult, so why not Jesus? More importantly, it's a song about how much better this unnamed person or thing or idea makes their lives, and obviously that lends itself to religion-y types pretty easily. It's an inspirational song, as they like to call it. You know, I can only imagine that I could sing of your love forever.
And fill my nights with song.
You fill my nights with song. If that line ended with anything else, Debbie Boone would not be singing it. Most importantly, it's got that skim milk, scrub clean, I've never had a real problem in my life affectation that quickly became the hallmark of contemporary Christian music. She's got a very Christian music singing style, you know, these perfect clear vocals, obnoxiously chipper. That's exactly why Christian music has such a bad reputation. It's music for people who have the answer to every problem they could ever possibly have, quasi-spiritual songs like You Light Up My Life included. And it's not even a matter of me thinking they're wrong, it's just that doesn't make for very good art. Of course, the songwriter Joseph Brooks never came out and said it was about Jesus, but I have to believe he must have been some kind of devout Christian if this is the kind of song he wrote, and it just goes to reason. He had to be some kind of Bible-thumping goody-goody. I bet he became like a musical director for Pat Robertson or something. What is he doing now? Huh. Debbie won the Grammy for Best New Artist that year. Way to screw it up again, Grammys. Like, can you believe? I can't believe she beat out those other great nominees that year, like Stephen Bishop, Andy Gibb, Sean Cassidy. Okay, that had to have been better new artists than that. Despite that, Debbie didn't really have another hit off those first couple albums. I've read a few interviews where Debbie lamented that having her dad's name kind of pigeonholed her into being this lightweight, goody two-shoes kind of artist, which she didn't feel reflected who she really was. Me personally, though, I say, if the shoe fits. But who knows, maybe she broke out of that mold with those next few singles.
Baby, I'm yours, and I'll be yours until the stars fall from the sky.
What is she doing? Like, why is she smiling that much? Did she down a whole bottle of Quaaludes? Ugh, it's creepy. That's pretty much what all her first few years of music sounded like, just trust me on this. In 1980, she bailed on pop altogether and instead became a country artist, and she was actually moderately successful for a couple of years. The early 80s were a very, very lightweight time in country music, so she fit right in. She notched a few top 40 country songs and even one #1 single.
Are you on the road to loving me again? Did the trail of yellow brick come to an end? Did you realize the future lies right here where it began?
But even Nashville found Debbie a little too corny and got tired of her fairly quickly. After her third country album flopped in 1983, she quit country music too. Yeah? See, around this time, MTV showed up and everything got a lot more flashy and image-driven. Debbie's fellow country pop singer, Olivia Newton-John, dealt with the issue like this. Obviously, Debbie opted to go in a different direction.
It's clear to me now you are my only refuge.
And so, Debbie Boone ended up exactly where everyone knew she would, as a Christian artist. And she was pretty successful throughout the 80s. Well, she was even bigger than some other famous 80s Christian singer. Amy Grant? Okay, she wasn't bigger than Amy Grant. I don't know. She also did some acting, including in some TV films. And she also did a bunch of Broadway shows. She played Rizzo in Grease. Yes, not Sandy. Rizzo, the bad girl juvenile delinquent who contemplates abortion. I get the impression she's always felt a little restricted by her image, you know? Thanks, Dad. But she is still recording, most recently a tribute album to her late mother-in-law, Rosemary Clooney. So if Debbie Boone covering Rosemary Clooney gets you pumped up, well, it's only $11.99 on Amazon. And for what it's worth, I've read a bunch of interviews with her, and she does not appear to be one of those crazy Kirk Cameron type of religious people. Or at least not anymore, she isn't. Actually, despite the fact that I've done nothing but talk shit about her, I do want to point out that in everything I've heard her say, she just seems genuinely just like the nicest lady in the world, and she looks absolutely amazing for her age. And I actually feel really bad for all the things I've said about her in this review. I don't feel like my life was particularly lit up by listening to more Debbie Boone. The sad thing is, unlike her dad, who had more of a sense of humor about it, Debbie was actually kind of hurt by being a punchline. But, you know, she made the music she made. The career of Debbie Boone, daughter of Pat Boone, singer of You Light Up My Life, went exactly the way you'd imagine it would go. I think You Light Up My Life was probably more than enough Debbie Boone for anyone. Again, she seems really nice, but no, this is not the music for me. She filled our nights with song, but I wish she hadn't. Sorry.